This is the paint palette. Um, I had an interesting idea. Um, Yesterday, someone made a um, someone made a tweet where they organized the various BFDI characters into colored tiers based on what color they were, and that gave me the idea to make a tier list based on what characters would attract what lantern rings uh, if they could even attract them. Now, I have to preface this with with an explanation. Um, if I were doing this completely at face value, every I'm not sure every, but the vast majority of BFDI and BFB characters, as well as Teapot characters, would likely have would likely just be Black Lanterns, as Black Lanterns are the ones that bond to people who have already been dead and come back to life, or who are just already dead. Give me a second. There we go. I'm gonna just ignore that and leave that in the background. Anyway, so I wanted to set that aside and pretend as if pretend they don't exist so that I can do this. So, starting with red, red lantern rings are I'm not sure if they're the worst or if orange is worse, but red lantern rings are attracted to people with great rage in their hearts. People that are almost possessed by their desire for vengeance or by an unyielding sense of anger or rage. And I believe that these characters fit the. I believe that Lie, Fanny, Ice Cube, and to a lesser extent Flower fit that bill enough to attract those sorts of rings. Lie mentions that she has a traumatic killing past which implies that she used to kill people a whole lot, which means that she would likely either be red or yellow, but because no one's really afraid of her, and the only two people I know who are directly angry with her are Stapy and Foldy, it feels more sensible for me to give her the red ring. The drawbacks to the red lantern ring are generally that it replaces your heart so that you can't take it off and not die. Let's see here. Here it is. Its powers are its powers are similar to the red ring, although without the proper induction, it can leave ritual following them getting the ring. They will be basically crazy from the amount of rage they're stuck with from the ring as well as from inside themselves. It's sort of like overloading a computer and just waiting for it to crash. But it's generally the most violent. It's generally the most violent, and as a result, the violent Lie and Robot Flower are definitely capable. Are definitely the most capable of attracting it. Fanny was a secondary choice because she is always saying that she hates everything. And so, while there's a lot of negativity to her, I'm not 100% sure if that's real hatred. But there's a chance that it is, considering that she does not stop using the word hate. And, and it would be, and I think it would be a really interesting scenario just to see her or Lai wearing a red ring. And my other secondary choice was Ice Cube. Ice Cube is, for the longest time, was always talking about revenge, and so there is a great desire for vengeance in her heart, although she usually gets what she wants in the end. So it's hard to say if it's always there or if it's just sometimes there, but that it seems ever present in her head during some points in the show gave me the feeling that she would be a potential candidate for the ring. Orange Lanterns are more simple. They're the Orange Lanterns are basically greed. And the greediest characters, the most uncompromisingly greedy characters I could think of were Gelatin and Yellowface. Yellowface is so money hungry and willing to scam people that it goes without saying. And Gelatin is willing to be cruel and for the sake of his own selfishness, that I think both are the best fits for the ring out of all the characters. And something I want to mention that I should have mentioned earlier is that most of the characters would not have don't meet any of the qualifications for any of the rings. With orange out of the way, we can move on to yellow. Yellow rings are basically Sinestro Corps rings, so at least that's their official name. The point is, they're attracted to people who have the ability to inspire great fear. And no two characters fit that, well, for less so, but Evil Leafy most definitely inspires great fear. She is terrifying to everyone except probably 4. And so I can see her being an almost perfect candidate for the yellow ring. Although she would be a very oblique yellow lantern. 4 is kind of a secondary choice. He's somewhere between a first choice and a secondary choice because he kind of fits in the same category as the Anti-Monitor being made a yellow lantern. It makes sense. He is definitely capable of being a terrifying being, with the kind of power he has at his hands. Well, at his own disposal, rather. But he doesn't behave in a terrifying, imposing manner all the time. And so he is kind of a second choice. Still. So those are the two I thought would best fit the Yellow Lantern ring. And I would love to see someone design a ring for a yellow Evil Leafy in a Yellow Lantern outfit. It'd be really interesting. Of course, one would have to join my Discord and post it in the server to show me. But still, I would be amazed if someone could draw that. The characters, I thought I couldn't really find that many characters who have great willpower. The green ring doesn't really specify what willpower means. My assumption is it's some mix of stubbornness and determination, and because of that, the character that I thought fit it the most is the most stubborn and determined character in the whole show, and that's Golf Ball. Golf Ball is stubborn and determined, in that she will do everything to make sure that her team avoids elimination. Whether or not they succeed is a different matter for her, but she is still willing to go the distance to try. And there was really no other core that fit her, so I had to go with green. Teardrop is a distant secondary choice because maybe not distant, but she is definitely she's definitely a strong she is definitely a candidate for the fact that she can participate. She does her best to participate despite the great difficulty of being mute, and does pretty well despite it, and that's down to her determination and cunning, and so my assumption is she would be a moderately decent fit for the green ring. Black Hole is I decided to give Black Hole make Black Hole my choice for the blue ring, the Ring of Hope, because Black Hole's biggest aim and devotion is preventing death, and his dedication to it is something that made me want to put him as a Green Lantern initially, because he has the same grit and determination for it as GB does for maintaining her authority, but he has something else that GB doesn't, and that's an immense and that is hope for a better future with less death, because his cause is preventing death, and in preventing death there is some hope that they're building, or at least leading to, a more peaceful environment. And continuing trying to do that in such a chaotic environment as an object show, it shows that he has a very stubborn sense of hope. And he's willing to go so far with that hope as to avoid the obvious solution of killing Tree and recovering him so that he can have his limbs back. Because he hopes that he can bring Tree back to normal without killing him that much. He believes that much. I don't know of any other characters that are like that. TB was a choice for Blue because he hopes that Golf Ball, someone he cares immensely about, will soften up eventually, but I pivoted away from that because I wasn't sure about it. Indigo is the next one, and it's the most oblique. I don't know if oblique is the right word. It's complex, I'll give it that. The Indigo Lanterns, or as they call themselves, the Indigo Tribe, are mainly composed, and their ranks are generally composed of two types of people, which the rings are attracted to. The first choice of the ring is generally people completely devoid of compassion, empathy, or sympathy. And with that, my first two choices for it are Pillow and 14. He's the only other Algebraian I could think to put on the list. because 4 goes without saying. Pillow's complete lack of compassion is obvious. She kills for fun and does not care about the feelings of others whatsoever. She is probably one of the cruelest contestants on the show and is a perfect candidate for the ring. 14 is a cannibal, so he's pretty close to being in the devoid of compassion category. So I decided he belongs in the Indigo tribe too, because the ring seeks out those people as well as another category of people that I'm going to get to. It also seeks out people that are overflowing with compassion. And I couldn't really... And the closest candidates I could find to that were Barf, Bag, and Book. I don't really know if any of the other characters fit that, because if they did, the show would be a lot harder to write. Probably one of the Death Pact members, in all honesty, but that's a moot point for reasons I'll get to later. Barf, Bag, and Book generally care about their teammates or whoever they're trying to be friends with, in the case of Book. Barf Bag seems to be someone who will listen to your issues and is generally friendly, and as a result is someone I can imagine being compassionate enough under the right circumstances to attract an Indigo ring based on her compassion rather than a complete lack of it, like Pillow and 14. Book is a longer story. It's hard for me to explain it, but Book generally seemed to be the only character on Free Smart that had some sense of empathy, and was willing to speak out on occasion against the unnecessary cruelty of Pencil and Match's decisions. Or perhaps that was Bubble. It was one of them, or maybe both. But the point is, if she was given a push in the right direction, she would be a great secondary choice for the Indigo ring. And I see that as a credit to her character, and a potential credit to her character if she could get herself up on her feet again emotionally. Violet leads us to... Well, this leads us to Violet, which is the Lantern Core of Love. I should have mentioned Indigo is the one for compassion. Point is, Violet is love, and my first two choices were Pin and Coiny. Pin and Coiny because they both have connection, psychic connection, because they care about each other so damn much. And Coiny especially because Coiny was actually kind of a split choice, as well as Black Hole, because I mentioned that he would probably go into the Indigo category, or perhaps the White category as well, but I'll explain the White category later. Anyway, Coiny is willing to go to hell and back, literally, for Pin. If that is not the definition of love, unconditional care, the unconditional desire to care about someone and protect them, I don't know what love is. It is an immense sense of emotional dedication that I can see in Coiny, and I can see both of them being strong candidates for the Violet Ring, or as they would call, as the Violet Core call themselves, the Star Sapphires. Bracelety is more complicated, but she is also a potential contender because her obsessive love, with big air quotes for Ice Cube, is more similar to the original Star Sapphire's villainous obsession with Hal Jordan. Although I swear to God, Bracelety is more benign. She'll just run around holding up a sign screaming that she loves things. And otherwise not cause trouble. I imagine that if there were good actions that she was responsible for or committed, to show that kind of dedication and earn Ice Cube's respect, I would imagine that she would be a strong contender as well. TB was a struggle because he could fit in blue, indigo, or violet. Blue because of his hope for the continual strengthening of his bond with GB, for her to soften up and be friendlier with him. Indigo because his compassion for GB and others, to a slightly smaller extent, is a lot stronger than most characters, but it doesn't quite stand out the way both the blue and indigo would imply that he genuinely loves GB. I hate saying that, but the kind of dedication that their friendship shows is that there is some kind of that they do love each other, or at least one of them loves the other. And knowing them, it's definitely TB, because he cares, and he cares a lot. Unfortunately, I was kind of cornered into this because I couldn't decide between blue and indigo, and having them both at once seems like something that would put him into violet. If he could have obtained all of them, all the colors, he would have fit into white, and that's something I can explain now. The white ring is the most complex for me to explain. Basically, to obtain it, you have you'd either have to start with most likely a green ring, or maybe one of the others is an option too, I'm not sure, and learn to harness the other emotions the way that someone with the green ring can harness will. And being able to harness all 7 would make you into a white lantern. Sort of like how white is the combination of all the colors. The other way one would obtain the rings, a white ring in the comics, would be to be declared as someone who is able to preserve life in all its forms. And it is on that basis that I gave Tree that the white ring, because ability or not, He has the greatest determination to do it, and because he is already a plant, if he were willing to go all out in that way, with any plant-related powers he might have, considering he can grow into a giant tree, even if involuntarily, I would think that he would be able to, he would be a strong candidate for the ring. The ring also desires hosts that can preserve life, and I can absolutely see him attracting the ring based on that. I asked someone if they thought Remote would be a good candidate for that, and they said yes, and so I put that there. Remote genuinely seems to care in that way. In all honesty, I kind of regret making the White Lantern column, as none of the characters it's like, out of all of these, I could only see a few of them obtaining the White Ring the hard way, or the new way. But because these three are the most ardent about preserving life that aren't already part of another core, that being Black Hole, and to a lesser extent Lie, who is already eliminated, I think they would go into white, although in hindsight I should have put them into green. Green is because it's so vague, because willpower is vague, I could have put more of them into it, but not many. But I think this is a moderately. This is a decent start for which characters would go where in regards to what rings they would get. I still find it funny just thinking about Evil Leafy wearing a yellow ring. I should have mentioned this earlier, but the reason that the Indigo Ring attracts to people devoid of compassion is that it does it to force compassion onto them, and so Pillow and 14 would be overwhelmed with the pain that they had caused to others, and that would force them to feel compassion through the ring. It's hard to describe. It's somewhere in between mind control and not. But the point is, you would imagine Pillow being overwhelmed with this immense sense of shame for being such a terrible person. I can't put Lie in Indigo because she does regret it and she does feel remorse, and so she doesn't fit into completely devoid of compassion, but she also isn't overflowing with it. I really should have put TB in Indigo as someone who was overflowing with it, just because of how patient he is with GB. I think he could master 4 of the colors, honestly. He's not scary, greedy, or easily angered, at least not that I'm aware of. So it'd be much more difficult for him to obtain those and obtain a white ring that way. Still, this is the chart that I came up with, and although it is relatively shoddy, I think that all of you could improve on my methods, and I may update it at some point in the future. It is one of the stranger ideas I've had. It's not the strangest, not by far, but it is one of the stranger ones. But still, this is what I think, and I would love to see designs. And I may draw up some designs myself, just because it would be just because the idea is so interesting. So I may make a video about that in the future. I have another video planned as well. I may do it tonight or tomorrow, but I'm not sure. But that's it for now. I hope you liked it. If you disagree, that's fine, and I expect people to disagree because I threw this together faster than a salad for pigs. Either way, this has been the Paint Palette. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.